There is a man standing outside a city that no longer exists. The city was called Ur. It sat at the edge of the known world, a prosperous, river-fed civilization full of ziggurat temples and grain markets, and people who had absolutely no reason to leave. The man's name is Abram. He is 75 years old. His wife cannot have children. His father just died. And one morning, something happens that has no category in any language Abram knows. God speaks to him, not through a priest, not through a dream, directly, personally. And the first thing God says is not a command. It is not a doctrine. It is not a theology. It is two words in the Hebrew, two words that will echo through every page of the book that follows. I will. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great. I will bless those who bless you. I will curse those who curse you. 5 times in 3 verses. 5 promises to a man with no land, no heir, no future, and no reason to believe any of it. The historian Josephus, writing in his Antiquities of the Jews, notes that Abram was already past the age any culture of his time considered capable of starting over. The Chaldeans had a word for men like him, men past their usefulness. Josephus doesn't record the word, but you can imagine what it meant. And God looked at this man, this nobody from a city that would be buried under sand for 3,000 years, and said, I will. Here's what most people miss about those 2 words. In the Hebrew, the phrase God uses is rooted in Ehyeh, spelled Aleph, He, Yod, He, which means not just I will, but I am becoming. It is the same root as the divine name YHWH. When God says, I will make you great, He is not making a casual promise. He is staking His own eternal name on the outcome. If Abram fails, God fails. If the promise breaks, the name breaks. God does not make promises lightly. He makes them the way a stonecutter makes an inscription. Permanent, visible, irrevocable. Abram packs his bags. He takes his wife Sarai. He takes his nephew Lot. He takes everything he owns and walks away from the only life he has ever known, into a land he has never seen, toward a future that exists only in the words of a voice he cannot prove he heard. That is what the I will of God does to a person. It moves them. Stay with me, because the story does not stay in Ur. It never does. The I will of God travels. It finds people in the strangest places. It finds them in deserts and dungeons and river reeds and burning bushes. It finds them, every single time, at the exact moment when human logic has run out of road. And the next man it finds is a murderer hiding in the wilderness of Midian, staring at a bush that will not stop, burning. His name is Moses, and he has been running for 40 years. You know the feeling. Maybe not the murder, maybe not the exile, but the feeling of being disqualified. The feeling that whatever you were supposed to do, you already ruined it, that the window closed, that the chance passed. Moses had been raised as a prince of Egypt, trained for power, positioned to help his people. And then, in one violent afternoon, he threw all of it away. He killed a man. He fled. He spent 40 years in the desert marrying a shepherd's daughter and forgetting what it felt like to matter. He is 80 years old when God finds him. 80. Not 25 with energy to spare. Not 40 with midlife urgency. 80. The age when most people have made their peace with how the story ends. And God says, I will be with you. Not, I want you to go. Not, I think you could probably do this. Not a performance review with areas for improvement. Just 5 words, flat and absolute. I will be with you. Moses pushes back. Of course he does. He says he cannot speak well. He says nobody will believe him. He says he doesn't even know God's name. And this is where God says something that stops the entire conversation cold. I am who I am. Tell them I am has sent you. Ehyeh asher ehyeh, the same root, the same forever tense. The promise God made to Abram in Ur, I am becoming, I will be, is the same identity God reveals at the burning bush. The I will of God is not a policy, it is a person, and that person is about to walk into Egypt. There is a moment in the book of Exodus that most people read past without stopping. It is Exodus chapter 6, verses 6 through 8. God is speaking to Moses. Israel has been enslaved for 400 years. Pharaoh has just made the workload harder. The people are furious. Moses himself is doubting. And into that exact moment, the lowest point, the most broken hour, God opens his mouth and speaks. And he says, I will. 7 times in 3 verses. 7. Count them. I will bring you out from under the yoke of Egypt. I will free you from being slaves. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm. I will take you as my own people. I will be your God. I will bring you to the land. I will give it to you as a possession. Scholars call this the sevenfold promise. Rabbis memorize it. But here is the thing nobody tells you about those 7 statements. God gave them when nothing had changed yet. The bricks were still being made. The overseers were still counting. The children were still being born into bondage. There was no evidence, no sign, no reason to believe a single word. God said, I will, into a situation that looked exactly like, I won't. Now watch what happens next. Moses takes those 7 promises and goes back to the people. And the scripture says something heartbreaking. It says they did not listen to him because of their discouragement and cruel bondage. They could not hear the I will of God because the noise of their suffering was too loud. You have been there. The promise is real, but the pain is louder. The word is true, but the circumstance is deafening. God does not rephrase the promise. He does not wait for better conditions. He moves anyway. 10 plagues, a parted sea, a pillar of fire, and one night, one single Passover night, 400 years of slavery ends. 7 I wills, 0 wavering. There is one I will in the Bible, though, that was spoken in the dark, to a man who was about to lose absolutely everything in a city that was already on fire. We will get to that one, but not yet. Because first, we need to talk about a morning in the wilderness when a man named Joshua woke up and realized Moses was dead. Joshua had spent 40 years walking 3 feet behind the greatest prophet Israel had ever known. He had been Moses' assistant, Moses' general, Moses' shadow. Everything he knew about leading, about trusting God, about walking into impossible situations, he learned by watching Moses do it first. And now Moses was gone. Buried on a mountaintop no one was allowed to visit, and in front of Joshua stretched the Jordan River, flooded, impassable, and beyond it a land full of walled cities and armies and people who had no intention of leaving. Joshua is not afraid the way a coward is afraid. He is afraid the way a capable man is afraid, the kind of fear that comes from knowing exactly how hard something is. And God speaks to him, not with a new strategy, not with a battle plan, with 2 words, I will. I will be with you as I was with Moses. I will not leave you. I will not forsake you. The same promise that found Abram in Ur, the same promise that found Moses at the burning bush. It has traveled across 3 generations, and it has not changed 1 syllable. And here is the remarkable thing. God tells Joshua to be strong and courageous not once, not twice, but 3 times in 11 verses. 3 times, which means God knew Joshua needed to hear it more than once. Which means God is not surprised when you need to hear the same promise again. He is not impatient with your fear. He just keeps saying it. I will, I will, I will. The Jordan River parts. The walled city of Jericho falls without a single battering ram. And Joshua, the man who woke up that morning without Moses, without a plan, without a reason to believe the walls would ever come down, leads his people into everything God promised. If you are watching this right now and you feel like your Moses is gone, like the person, or the season, or the certainty you depended on has been taken away, and now you are standing at a flooded river with no idea how to cross, hear this. The I will that moved with Moses will move with you. It always has. It always does. And if you want to see just how far God is willing to carry that promise, we need to travel 500 years forward to a people who lost everything. Not just their leader, not just their confidence, their city, their temple, their freedom, their home. Before we go further, if this is landing for you, if the I will of God is something you needed to hear today, hit subscribe. There are people in your life who need this too. Send it to one of them. 1 click. It costs you nothing, and it might mean everything to them. Now, Babylon. Imagine you have just watched soldiers tear the gold off the walls of the temple. Not a metaphor. Not a history lesson. Your neighbors' houses are burning. The priests who taught you the law of Moses are being marched in chains along a road that leads away from everything holy. The city of David, the city God promised would stand forever, is rubble. The year is 587 BC, and the people of Israel are slaves again. For a generation, the prophets had warned that this was coming. Nobody listened. And now, the thing that was not supposed to happen, the thing that felt theologically impossible, because surely God would protect his own city, has happened. And the people sitting in Babylon are not just suffering, they are theologically shattered. Their entire understanding of who God is has been blown apart by the fall of Jerusalem. And into that wreckage, God speaks through a prophet named Isaiah. Not a new prophet, an old one. A prophet whose words were already written down, written for this exact moment, placed like a letter inside a burning building so that when the survivors came through the smoke, they would find it. Isaiah 41, verse 10. 4 I wills, in a single verse. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And before those three, one more that sets them all up. Do not fear, for I am with you. The Hebrew verb for uphold here is tamak. It means to grasp, to seize, to hold with force. God is not saying, I will support you from a distance. He is saying, I will grip you with my right hand, and you will not fall while I am holding you. It is the language of a father catching a child who is already in the air, already falling, already past the point of saving themselves. Pay attention to this. God does not say, I will help you if you get your faith together first. He does not say, I will strengthen you once you have processed your grief. He says, I will, present tense, unconditional, already moving, to people who are sitting in the ruins of everything they believed about the world. The I will of God is not a reward for the faithful. It is a rescue for the desperate. You do not earn it, you receive it. And if you think that is remarkable, stay with me, because we are about to hear the single most personal I will in the entire Old Testament. Spoken. Not to a nation, not to a prophet with a ministry. Spoken to a man sitting alone in the dark who had been faithful his entire life and gotten nothing but suffering for it. His name is Jeremiah, and by the time God speaks this particular word to him, Jeremiah has been thrown into a cistern, a dry well, a hole in the ground, by the very people he was trying to save. He has been mocked. He has been beaten. He has watched his city ignore every warning he gave for 40 years. He is not a hero at this point in the story. He is a man who has almost given up, and God says to him, through a letter carried across enemy lines to a people in chains in a foreign city, words that will be quoted at every graduation ceremony and printed on every bookmark for the next 3,000 years. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. Here is what you were never told about that verse. Jeremiah 29:11 is not a promise to an individual having a bad week. It is a promise to a nation that has been in captivity for years, spoken at the exact moment when their holy city lies in ashes and their God appears to have lost. It was given to people who would not see its fulfillment in their lifetimes. God was not saying, this will get better next month. He was saying, across decades of suffering, across an entire generation of pain, I will give you a future. I will give you a hope. I will bring you home. We need to make one stop before we reach the New Testament. Ezekiel chapter 36. The prophet Ezekiel is sitting with the exiles in Babylon, the same exiles, the same broken city, the same theological wreckage. And God says something to him that no prophet before him had ever said. Something so interior, so specific, so personal, that it changes the entire direction of what the Bible is doing. I will give you a new heart. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit in you. Every I will we have seen so far has been external. I will make you a nation. I will bring you out of Egypt. I will give you the land. External promises, visible outcomes. Things you could point to on a map or count in a census. This one is different. This I will goes inside. God is no longer talking about geography. He is talking about surgery. He is saying, the problem is not just your circumstance. The problem is what slavery and suffering and exile have done to your capacity to trust. You have a heart of stone. You have been hurt so many times and disappointed so many times and failed so many times that the part of you that was supposed to feel love and faith and hope has calcified. It has turned to rock. And I will change that. Not you, not your willpower, not your spiritual discipline. I will. Here's the part nobody tells you about this promise. It is given before the people show any sign of deserving it. They are still in Babylon. They are still in rebellion. They are still the generation whose sin caused the exile in the first place. And God looks at them and says, I will not wait for you to fix yourself before I fix your heart. I will go first. The I will of God always goes first. Abram did not become righteous before God called him. Moses did not clean up his past before God appeared in the bush. Joshua did not defeat his fear before God told him to cross the Jordan. Jeremiah did not find hope before God spoke hope over him. God goes first, every time. And this pattern, this relentless, first-moving, heart surgery, I will, is building toward something. Something that happens in a room above a city that is about to kill its Messiah. Something spoken by a man who knows he has fewer than 18 hours to live. Because the God who said, I will, to Abram in Ur, to Moses at the burning bush, to Israel in the brick fields, to Joshua at the river, to the exiles in Babylon. That same God is about to put on human skin and say it one more time, and this time, he is going to back it up with his own death. The room is upstairs, in Jerusalem. The year is approximately AD 30. 12 men are sitting around a table eating bread and drinking wine, and they have no idea that by morning, one of them will be dead from his own guilt. One will be warming his hands at an enemy fire and denying he ever knew the man across from him. And the man sitting at the head of the table will be hanging from a cross outside the city walls. They don't know any of this yet. What they know is that Jesus has been saying strange things all night. Things about going away, about a room he is preparing, about coming back. And the disciples are afraid in the way you are afraid when you understand. Just enough to know that something terrible is coming, but not enough to know what to do about it. And Jesus looks at them, knowing everything they are about to do, knowing the betrayal and the denial and the running, and he says, I will come again, and I will receive you to myself, so that where I am, you will also be. John chapter 14. 2 I wills. Spoken by a man who has 12 hours to live. Spoken to men who are about to fail him in every way a person can fail someone. He does not say, I will come again if you hold it together. He does not say, I will come again if Peter doesn't deny me. He says, I will come again. Flat, unconditional, absolute. As if the cross that is coming in the morning is not an obstacle to the promise, but the very mechanism by which the promise gets kept. The Greek word at work in the resurrection context is anastemi, to stand up again, to rise. When Jesus says, I will come again, he is using the language of resurrection. I will rise, I will return, I am not finished. And here is what you need to understand about the upper room, I will. Every I will we have traced through this story, from Ur to Egypt to the Jordan to Babylon to the rubble of Jerusalem. Every single one of them was spoken by a God who was outside the suffering, looking in. Powerful, yes. Present, yes. But outside. The upper room is different. In the upper room, God is inside the suffering. He is sitting at the table. He is about to drink the cup of human death all the way to the bottom. He is not saying, I will help you from a safe distance. He is saying, I will go through the worst thing first, and then I will come back for you. That changes everything. Now watch what happens next. The cross comes. The tomb is sealed. 3 days pass. 3 days that feel, to everyone who loved him, like the I will of God has finally, catastrophically failed. And then a stone moves. And the same voice that said, "I will make you a nation," the same voice that said, "I will be with you at the burning bush," the same voice that said, "I will give you a new heart," that voice says, through an empty tomb, one more time, "I told you, I will." And 2,000 years later, in a room like this one, watching a screen, maybe alone, maybe afraid, maybe sitting in your own version of Babylon, that same "I will" is still moving. Still finding people at the end of their rope. Still walking into the places where human logic has run out of road. And before we get to the final "I will," the last one in the Bible, the one that closes the whole story, there is one more thing we need to name. The "I will" spoken in the dark to a man who had almost given up. That man is Jeremiah. And this is the part of the story you were not told. When Jeremiah received the words of chapter 29, plans to prosper you, a future and a hope, he was not sitting in a comfortable study writing theology. He was in a city under siege. He had just been thrown into a muddy cistern and left to die. His friends had turned on him. His ministry looked like a total failure. 40 years of faithful preaching, and the city was burning anyway. And into that cistern, into that mud, into that darkness, God said, "I have not forgotten. I have not abandoned the plan. I know the plans I have for you. Not had, not will have. Have. Present tense. Right now. In this mud. In this dark. Plans to give you a future. A hope. I will." Jeremiah dictated those words, in the middle of the siege, to a man named Baruch, who wrote them down on a scroll and carried them across enemy lines to the exiles in Babylon, which means the most comforting promise in the entire Bible was written from inside a war zone by a man who had almost nothing left. That is what the "I will" of God looks like from the inside. It is not written from a mountain, it is written from the mud. And now, the last "I will" in the Bible, Revelation chapter 21. The old heaven and the old earth have passed away. The sea is gone. The city of God is coming down like a bride. Every tear, every war, every grave, every Babylon, every cistern, every burning bush and dry riverbed and brick field and upper room, all of it, gathered up and transformed, and God speaks one final time. "Behold, I am making all things new." And then, as if to make absolutely certain no one misses the point, write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true. 2,000 years of "I will," and at the end of everything, God does not close with a doctrine. He does not close with a warning. He closes with a renovation. "I will make all things new." Not some things. All things. Not fixed, new. Not repaired, remade. The promise to Abram was a nation. The promise to Moses was a mission. The promise to Joshua was a land. The promise to Jeremiah was a future. The promise in the upper room was a return. The final promise is a new creation. Before we go, if this is your first time here, subscribe. And if you know someone who is sitting in their own version of the mud right now, someone who needs to hear that the "I will" of God still moves, send them this video. That is all. 3 things to carry with you. First, the "I will" of God always arrives at the point of human impossibility, not before, not when you have your act together. At the exact moment when you have run out of road. That is not an accident. That is the design. God speaks "I will" precisely when your "I can't" has become honest. Second, every "I will" in this story cost God something. It cost him the reputation of a man who asked for a son and waited 25 years. It cost him the credibility of a nation that looked like it was being swallowed by the most powerful empire on earth. It cost him, in the upper room, his own life. The "I will" of God is not casual. Every promise he has ever made, he paid for. Third, and this is the one I want to leave with you. You are not waiting for God to notice your situation. You are living inside a promise he has already made. The God who said, "I will be with you" to an 80-year-old man hiding in the desert is the same God who knows your name right now. The God who said, "I will give you a new heart" to people who had lost everything is the same God who looks at the calcified, stone-hard, shut-down places in your chest and says, "I am not done with that."